Okay, so hello everyone. So today we are going to learn about homologous series. So what is a homologous series? A homologous series is actually a family, right, of organic compounds that has the same functional group, and because they have the same functional group, therefore they have the same chemical properties. So same functional group means same chemical properties. So what's a functional group? So a functional group, right, it's a very important word for you to understand. It's actually a group of atoms that gives its molecule its chemical properties. So it's actually a group of atoms. So let's take a look, okay? So we got these four different homologous series, the alkanes, the alcohols, and the carboxylic acid. So the alkane functional group is what we call the CC double bond, a single bond, sorry. And then the alkenes is a CC double bond. Alcohols, we call it the hydroxyl group, is the O and the H group, and the carboxylic acid is the C double bond O, OH group. Now, we need to remember certain things when we are drawing molecules. So let's try to recall some chemical bonding, okay? So the most important atom in organic chemistry is carbon. So carbon has an electronic configuration of 2.4. So therefore, carbon can form a maximum of 4 bonds because it can share. So it can be in this fashion. It can also be in like this fashion, a double bond and 2 single bonds, or it can be a triple bond and then a single bond. So 4 bonds maximum. Okay, then the next most common one is hydrogen. Hydrogen has an electronic configuration of a 1. So because it only has 1, maximum it can form is 1 bond. So you must always make sure you check that hydrogen only form 1 bond. Okay, the next most common one that you'll see is oxygen. Oxygen is 2.6, so it needs 2 more electrons to form a full valence shell of electrons. So the maximum oxygen can form is 2. It can be a 2 single bonds like this, as you can see over here in the alcohol, 2 single bonds, or it can be a double bond, like what you can see here in the carboxylic acid group. There's a O double bond here, and this O is 2 single bonds over here. But let's look at this C. It has 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bonds. Okay, so then you must always remember this. What must you remember? Carbon can only have a maximum of 4 bonds. Hydrogen can only have a maximum of 1 bond. And oxygen can have a maximum of 2 bonds. Okay, there's another one. So like nitrogen. Nitrogen is 2.5, so it's a maximum of 3 bonds. So you'll usually see 3 bonds like that. Alright, so let's take a look. Okay, so you remembering this in mind, it's actually quite straightforward. So let's look at the names and how to draw. Okay, and I'll show you the step-by-step process on how you can draw all the organic molecules. So how do I remember the names of the group? So you remember it by My Expensive Prada Bag, right? My Expensive Prada Bag. METHETHPROP, prop, built, BUT. My Expensive Prada Bag, MEPB. And from alkanes, we will always end with ane. For alkenes, we will end with in. For alcohols, we will end, for O levels, we will end with nol. And at O levels, carboxylic acid will end with anoic acid. Okay, so now let's try. So a 1 carbon alkane would be methane. Okay, a 2 carbon alkene will be ethene. A 3 carbon alcohol will be propanol. And a 4 carbon carboxylic acid will be butanoic acid. Okay, so let's try drawing and let me show you how you can draw without memorizing anything. So firstly, we will always say, what happens if I want to draw a 1 carbon alkene? So I know that 1 carbon, I draw 1 carbon first. I know that alkane has only single bonds, so I will just draw single bonds. And I know always at the back of my mind, carbon can have 4 bonds. So then the rest of these unfilled up bonds would be just hydrogens. So this is my expensive product back, methane. Okay, methane. What about 2 carbon alkanes? So again, 2 carbons, I'll first draw the 2 carbons like this, right? 2 carbons, don't need to think much, 2 carbons. Then I remember that alkane has a C-C single bond functional group, so I don't need to change anything. And then I remember that each carbon can have 4 bonds. So this carbon currently only has 1 bond over here, so I draw 3 more. And the carbon on the right also have 1, so I draw now 3 more. So now correct number of carbons, correct functional group, correct number of bonds, the rest fill up with hydrogen. And this is ethane. Now, let's try for propane and butane. So what you can do now, you pause the video and then you try drawing propane and butane by yourself. Okay, so propane, 3 carbons. Okay, functional group, single bonds. So each carbon can only have a maximum of 4 bonds. So this one add 3 more. This one, because got 2, add 2 more. This one add 3 more. And then the rest of it all H's. And then butane, 4 carbons. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure every carbon have 4 bonds. And then draw in the H's. Okay, so it is that straightforward. Okay, now let's try alkenes. So now alkenes is very special because it must have a C-C double bond. You cannot have a 1 carbon alkene because you cannot do like this and then you draw a H like that, right? It's not possible. So there is no 1 carbon alkene. So we start with a 2 carbon alkene. So this is how you do 2 carbons. Okay, so 2 carbons, draw 2 carbons first. Then I know alkene must be a C-C double bond. So C-C double bond, right? Then the carbon on the left has 2 bonds now. So I add 2 more because I know a maximum of 4. The carbon on the right have 2 bonds also. So add another 2. So H, 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 H. Name is 2 carbons and then in, ethene. Okay, let's try for 3 carbons. So 3 carbons first. Don't care about functional group, draw 3 carbons. Then think about functional group, you need to have a double bond. Just 1 double bond will do. So anyone, the left one or the right one, let's do the right one. Okay, so let's look at the first carbon. The first carbon currently has 1 bond, so add 3 more. The middle carbon here has 3 bonds already. 1, 2, 3, so add 3, 1 more to make 4. And the last carbon has 2, so add 2 more. And then everything else add in the H. Okay, what about 4 carbons? So you draw 4 carbons, right? I can add the double bond anywhere, but just add only 1. So let's add it over here. Okay, so the first one, how many bonds does this carbon have already? 1. So 3 more. This one have 1, 2, 3. So 1 more. Okay, on top, below, doesn't matter. Again, next one, 1, 2, 3. Add 1 more. Let's draw it below for fun. And then the last one, we got 1 bond, so 3 more. So then we fill it all up with H's. Okay, so then this one is called butene. And this one is called prop and in. Okay, you see how straightforward that is? Alright, okay, let's do the alcohols. So alcohol 1, alcohol with C, right? I know that alcohol must have an OH functional group, the hydroxyl functional group. And then I draw in, look at my carbons. Oh, this carbon got only 1 bond, so add 3 more. And H. Okay, so maybe you can pause the video here and then draw for the rest and then we can see. So this is methanol. And this is ethanol. And propanol. And so on. Okay, let's do the last one, the carboxylic acid, which can be actually quite challenging. So let's look at the first one. 1 carbon. So over here I draw 1 carbon. And then I need to add a functional group. But you must always remember, functional group you cannot add in the carbon. So one carbon add functional group. So I add double bond O, and H. So then I look at this C. This C has 1, 2, 3 bonds. So I add one more, and then that will be a H. So this is methanoic acid. Okay? And then ethanoic acid, 1, 2. And remember, when I add functional group, I cannot add in another carbon. So I convert one of them to double bond O, OH. And then make sure my carbons are happy. This ethanoic acid. Let's try 3 carbons. So then some of you might ask me, Cher, can I add the functional group in the middle? But we can't do that because the middle already have 2 bonds. I need to add it at the end. So let's add it at the end. Let's add it here. Double bond OH. And then this one has 2. So add 2 more. This one has 1. And this is propanoic acid. Okay? So actually you don't really need to memorize this very much. You just need to remember to go through the steps. You remember what the functional group, practice, and you'll do fine. Okay? So all the best. Bye.